And here we are,
No doubt.
back in the saddle and back in the Northland for almost a little over 24 hours now.
Wow.
So, yeah. This is the Duluth Conservative Podcast. We're doing it on Thursdays at 7 o'clock live, and then we'll post the video a couple days later on the YouTube site. This is March 20th, 2025. I'm Sean.
I'm Dave.
That's Dave. Today we're going to go through things that affect Duluth, Minnesota. We're going to have a little section on Tim Walz because he's such a character to talk about. It's kind of like a train wreck. You can't go past it without looking and laughing. We'll do some national news, and then we'll finish it up with some health and fitness. Just some brief highlights of today's bills we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some born alive infant provisions that failed, some needless spending that's being introduced by the Duluth local representatives, talking about artificial intelligence and some gun bans they're trying to put in place. We're going to go on to national news and talk about this, or Minnesota news, talk about this pedophile senator, Republican senator that just resigned, and talk about some money for Xcel Energy Center. We're going to talk about Walz and his tough guy approach that he seems to be taking and how masculine he is. It's frightening to me. And then on the national side, we'll talk about a little bit about Elon Musk, what's happened to Tesla, and some other news that has to do with Palestine and some other craziness that we found. So are we ready, Dave?
I believe so.
All right. Let's just jump right in and we'll talk about some Duluth news. Something that happened today, 4 people are behind bars for their role in selling controlled substances. Apparently at about early this morning, somewhere on the 100 block of East 3rd Street, they'd been investigating. The cops have been investigating for a while. They finally broke in. During the search warrant, they found a couple handguns and sale amount. I don't know what that is, but it's more than nothing. Amounts of cocaine, Oxycontin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl. So that happened today. Had you heard about this yet, Dave?
No, I haven't heard about that, but I think when they're talking about sale amount is it's packaged to sell.
Oh, okay.
And so users keep their stuff in one way, I'm told, and sellers keep it in some other form to easily sell on the street.
Sure. The descriptions are really detailed. A 29-year-old Duluth man and 3 other men. One of those men is a Duluth resident. It's not clear where the other 2 reside. That's it. That's what you get. They're really, watching out for us and making sure we know how to identify the people that are causing these problems. So good job. At least WDIO is reporting it. I haven't seen anywhere else that's doing it. But as always, I can read these things and get as much detail as possible, knowing I could look out my window and maybe figure out the same amount of stuff. It's good that they're getting these guys off the street. It's a good job from the Duluth Police Department. It looks like it's been investigated for a while, and these are the kind of people that do need to be behind bars. So I'm happy that they're doing this. Good job for the Duluth Police.
Oh, absolutely. But they said, for what we heard, for what I normally hear, they say that they haven't released his names because they haven't been charged yet. But we'll get into that the GOP senator later, because as soon as they heard about it, it was headline news, GOP senator. If it was a Democrat, they would just say senator.
Oh, yeah. Well, they wouldn't even say that. A politician in Duluth, or not Duluth, in Minnesota.
Minnesota politician, yeah.
Right. Hey, good job, Duluth Police, though. You got to call it out. These are not easy things to do. If there's handguns available, it's a high-risk thing to have to do. And it's not a very it's an exciting job, but it's not a job that I would want to do myself. I'm not that young anymore to do it, though. It might have been fun at one point, but yeah, they take a big risk and they're putting their lives on the line, and we owe them for that. Good job, guys. I hope you guys get some accolades for what you did. Anything else on that? Should we move on?
Yeah, let's just move on.
The Duluth City Council is looking to pay $18,648 to help advance the passenger rail. So this is the light rail that's coming in through and as I'm looking down, because I'm not looking at the camera, I'm looking for the document I had up that talked about it. But this is the light rail that is going. They're trying to get from Minneapolis to Duluth, uh, which is, we've talked about this a couple times on this show. We've talked about the other light rail systems that have either become a giant money sucking machine or have become a transportable meth lab, as is the case down in Minneapolis. I don't think this is a good idea. I think if this was a good idea, business should do it, not the state of Minnesota. When the state of Minnesota does it, or any kind of political group does it, it becomes something that doesn't have to turn a profit, and therefore will never turn a profit.
And the biggest problem is how they just increase the budget every single time they talk about it. So from the first time that they spoke about it to this time, the AGA government relations went up another $50,000.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so now, we're over. They're going to throw over $200,000 into just talking about getting a light rail here to lose money.
Yes. we're rushing towards as much money as possible being sent out. And I wanted to take a look at this budget that I saw here, 23, 24, 25. Like you said, there's over a $50,000 increase. But look at this. I mean, you got lobbying services, $24,000 every year. The actual media, banners, brochures, that's $7,000 is nothing when it comes to that kind of material.
Right.
Ads, news media, $6,000. I spent, when I was running my campaign, 2 series of $5,000 payouts for just website traffic and some media advertising on the radio. So $6,200 is nothing.
Right.
Website, I don't know what the $2,000 is besides hosting. It must be design and development. But look at this, $15,000, and then personnel, $183,000, $208,000, $192,000. Well, that's the amendment. But my God,
right.
This is just ridiculous amount of money being spent, especially the lobbying. And I don't see the benefit of it. I don't see the benefit of the light rail itself. And this is just a great example of how to take money and just pay it out to people without getting any bang for the buck.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into this one because one of Pete Johnson's, one of his bills that he authored is just spending another $250,000 just on talking about building a building. We'll get into that in a little bit, but still, at what point do why do we need to spend so much money talking about it?
Right.
And that's all this is we're just going to discuss it. We're going to pay off our DC congressmen so that they'll help fund it.
Yeah, I look at, and we will talk about the Minnesota bills. The same thing. It's spend. How can I spend this money? It's not why should I spend this money or what is this money for? It's I need to spend this money.
Right. So this hasn't been approved yet by the Duluth City Council, but Monday it will be. It's on the agenda. So we need to go down there and say, okay, it's time to put a stop to this right now. This is, $200,000 plus that we don't need to spend.
Right, you're throwing good money after bad.
Right.
On a $1 billion project that will be just incredibly expensive when it comes down to it, and it will service a fraction of what they think it will. Right.
Yeah, the original price tag is going to be $190 million on this, but the way the Duluth City Council is, the way the state spends money, it's going to be over $1 billion.
Yeah, it's $800 million from federal government they think they're going to get, and the way things are going right now, I don't think they're going to get it. No. And so now keep spending money for this large chunk you won't get, At least
Right.
they're not going to get it in the next 4 years, I wouldn't anticipate. And it might be in the next 12 or more. So,
Well, I mean, the state is facing a $6 billion deficit, so I don't see getting any cash from the state either.
yeah, exactly. And that's after they raised taxes $10 billion last year. I mean,
Right.
pretty soon you can only squeeze so much juice out of a rock.
Right.
Well, let's talk about the Minnesota Bills then. Because I really haven't had time to look up much Duluth news. So the Minnesota Bills are a lot easier. There was an HF 24, Born Alive Infant Provision Modified. I'm going to read the entirety of the bill. A born alive infant as a result of an abortion shall be fully recognized as a human person and accorded immediate protection under the law. All reasonable measures consistent with good medical practice, including the compilation of appropriate medical records, shall be taken by the responsible medical personnel to preserve the life and health of the born alive infant. So if they tried to do an abortion, they botched the abortion, the baby was born alive out of the womb, every single Democrat, including Duluth News Tribune endorsed representatives Kozlowski and Pete Johnson, voted against this. They still will kill a baby outside of the womb if it's alive. And I really think you have to look at yourself and say, why are we voting for this? I looked around, I couldn't find the justification. It's just a straight up no. So they're voting what the party tells them to, or it would be good to know what our little representatives here in Duluth are thinking.
Right.
Both Pete and Alicia. Why? Why would you vote against this? Do you have any clue, Dave? Do you know of a reason why you'd vote against something like this?
I looked it up. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find any logic behind it or any statement behind it. Just they do what they're told. So I don't know.
Yeah, pretty shocking. I was shocked that this wouldn't pass, at least even if you are, I wouldn't say people are pro-abortion, but maybe they are. There comes a point where you have to say this is a living human being. And that's been my argument the whole time too. At some point, you can't get away with saying this is just a thing that we can dispose of.
Right. And if the parents don't want to keep the baby, that's fine. We have a great abortion, or not abortion, but adoption system in the United States. And there's millions of people looking to adopt children. This is a perfect time to do that.
I remember the whole thing too is, well, we need immigrants because we don't have the population growth. We don't have people to do the jobs. It's so contradictory that you hear this. So I don't even like thinking about this bill. So I want to move on unless you have more to talk about with that.
No, it's just stupidity. So how do you talk about it? So
it just depresses me. It depresses me that their mindset is such that they've become, the Democrats are now pro-war, pro-domestic terrorism. They've always been pro-abortion. I can't remember the other things that I was thinking of, but they've just turned on themselves. It's like everything they used to believe in, now they're against because they want to prove the other guy wrong.
well, right. I mean, they're attacking Elon Musk and 4 years ago when he was a Democrat,
He was a darling.
he was the darling child of the Democrat Party. And now now everyone's trying to blow up everything he does, including
Yeah, because he got the audacity to try to make it so we're not wasting money on things and trying to stop the fraud. How dare he? This is the gravy train. And people are so brainwashed that they will look at it and say, yeah, that's right. That's the way we shouldn't. How dare you take away the money that you're spending from other people and me? A lot of the people protesting don't pay into taxes, by the way. They don't pay anything into taxes.
Right.
Let's go over some more bills. HF 2276. Minnesota homeless study funding provided. So this is $900,000 per year for a study on homelessness, with 1% going to administration costs. And this is from our favorite representative of the East End, Duluth News Tribune endorsed, Alicia Kozlowski. It's her bill. Keep studying homelessness. Spend $1 million almost on studying homelessness. Why is there homelessness? What can we do about it? It's certainly something that we can solve because, up until 20 years ago, this was never a problem. The other societies in life have always had a solution for this. Oh, wait a second. I'm wrong. This has been a problem forever.
Right.
And
like
of course, the administration the administration costs. You got to dip your beak in. Not a lot, just enough to wet your beak,
Right.
Let's see. Here's one from Pete Johnson from the West End. Hospitals required HF 2289. Hospitals required to provide registered nurse staffing at levels consistent with nationally accepted standards. Staffing levels reported required. Retaliation prohibited. Civil penalties imposed and money appropriated. And you wrote some comments under this, I believe. So do you want to talk about these?
Yeah, like the main thing I was comparing this to was the city of Minneapolis was court ordered by a decree to make sure that the Minneapolis police force was up to its proper number, which was right around 810 officers. Mm-hmm. They're currently at about 515. And this was right after the George Floyd riots. So in the 3-4 years, the city of Minneapolis, the city council is completely ignoring the mandates from the courts. So for what reason would hospitals have to follow the same law?
So why do they ignore them just like the cops do?
Yeah. The hospitals, they already know they're understaffed. The last time I spent some time at a hospital, I was talking to the nurses and they said, well, there's a lot of people doing double shifts because we don't have enough people. And they are, and I've seen the job listings saying that they're trying to keep up with it. Yeah. This isn't something that needs to be mandated by the government. This is already, they already know what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's, if the government's not going to follow their own rules, why should anybody else have to follow them?
It's a good point. Yeah, and like you said, the hospitals know it, and they're a business too. They do, by guidelines, have to have the appropriate level of staffing, but they're not intentionally being understaffed.
Right.
But now we're the government. I mean, Pete Johnson absolutely knows how many people need to be at a hospital because of his extensive work at one. Oh, I'm sorry. He was a firefighter, and that's what he knows. He knows how to work at a firefighter's location. He knows how to work for a union. So that's what he's definitely on board with this for some reason. I can't remember if he was the chief author of this or not, but I think he was. I don't understand it. I don't understand why he's involved with it. And it's just another unfunded mandate by the state of Minnesota to hospitals. Let's see.
22, yeah. That one was he was chief author on that one.
Yeah. Clearly, that's this level of expertise.
Correct.
Let's see. HF 2468. $500,000 over 2 years. That's $1 million to fix a problem that's already covered by the current intelligence returns. So $500,000 in fiscal year 2026. And again in 27 are appropriated from the general fund to the Commissioner of Labor and Industry for initiatives to promote mental health in the construction industry and prevent suicide. $1 million.
Yeah.
Going to the Commissioner of Labor to why is the government involved with this? I'm sorry, this is not a government problem. And like you say on here too, I mean, you pointed it out. They already have insurance for this. They can go to their health, provider, and if they're having suicide problems, we have places that we're already funding for suicide prevention. Why in the health industry, or why in the construction industry? Who is getting this? And this was introduced and is signed on to, I think, 35 representatives. So this must be a labor thing that's being pushed through. Both Kozlowski and Johnson are on this bill.
So is this a problem? I mean, I haven't
Right.
heard, I didn't, I was working in the construction industry for 10 years and I never even heard of a single problem like that. Nothing.
Yeah.
So at what point? I don't know. I didn't know it was a problem. First off,
And it goes to the Commissioner of Labor. Oh, okay. So do non-union guys get any involvement with this? Or is this just a union giveaway? $1 million,
right.
$6 billion in debt or $6 billion deficit, $1 million to this. You're right. This is unnecessary.
Yeah.
This is just buying votes here again. HF 2570. The only person I believe on this bill is Pete Johnson himself. So Duluth News Tribune endorsed Representative Pete Johnson $250,000 to design a regional gym for the Lake Superior Community Health and Wellness Center. That's a lot of money. And I think it even reads until it's done or abandoned.
Jeez.
I just don't understand it, man. Do they even think what are their budgets like? How are their personal finances? They've got to be deeply in debt, I would think, at this point, right? Right. Anyway, my guess. I'm not saying they are. It's like, oh my God, they just spend.
I was wondering about that. I was going to ask a question about that, about the Duluth City Council. Is everybody, or they just spend money? I never see them turning down anything.
Yeah.
So have they ever, or is it just, hey, it's free money, let's just spend?
Yeah, there's no pain involved. They don't, they don't have any backlash for anything.
Right.
Let's see. HF 2452. Artificial intelligence and dynamic pricing. So I read this a little bit. Alicia Kozlowski is on this bill. I'm sure she understands all the intricacies of artificial intelligence and pricing. But this is to stop businesses from using AI in order to figure out what the prices should be for their product. So in an anti-business mindset, you're thinking, well, they're just going to make sure they can raise the prices and have dynamic price tags, and it just goes up during the day, up and down. Sure. I mean, that could be a bad thing, and people should retaliate against that by not buying products from them. But at the same time, it doesn't allow it at all. Dynamic pricing can mean anything. It can mean weekly. It's not real time necessarily. And this is just making businesses stopping being able to compete with each other. I mean, it could be stopping collusion, but we have laws against collusion already. So this is just taking a technology I don't think they understand that well and demonizing it. And I'm not surprised, because if you want to talk anti-business, you talk about the Duluth representatives. That's right. What they are.
Yeah.
And HF 2449, I think we talked a little bit about this last week. This is we're going to buy back guns and ban guns from being passed down and ban. And last time I read the Second Amendment, it's unconstitutional to do what they're doing.
Right, completely.
But they keep trying every single session. I tell you, I've said this before. If I had my way, I'd like to do a moratorium on abortion bans and gun bans for 10 years, and just let us get through some other things. Stop trying to take away our guns, and stop trying to get all abortions completely out, because it's not going to work. Come to a compromise, or just stop for a little while. Can we work on other things and get some of this, get the budget balanced, get some tax rebates, get some inefficiencies out of the government, and then come back to it when you got all this stuff figured out. But Jesus, stop trying to take our guns from us. Look what happened in all these countries that have banned them. And I think I have a little article down at the bottom. We're going to talk about the consequence of banning guns, and I don't think I added it actually, is knife attacks are up. Like, go to Europe. You get attacked by a knife. Now,
Yep.
I don't know about you, but when a 250-pound guy comes at me with a knife, it's even worse. Maybe I can defend myself, but more than likely he's going to kill me with a knife. If I've got a 357, 50-50 odds.
Yeah, because Australia, they banned all guns, like Minnesota's trying to, yet assaults are higher than the U.S. because they're using other weapons. So you basically can't defend yourself.
Well, and it goes back to physical size.
Right.
Physical size is the determiner, and you just will take it. And the biggest group is the government itself. And look what happened when they did COVID lockdowns. Australia had the most severe lockdowns. They had concentration camps that people had to go to. The first thing a fascist government does is take away your weapons because they don't want you fighting back.
Right.
Not that I'd ever want to use a weapon against the government, and I don't think it would be very effective, but it's still something that makes people think before they do things. And it seems like the only thing that makes them think is that something might happen to them after a while.
Right.
But no moron shouldn't be going after people with guns either. Self-defense, that's what it's for, really.
Right.
All right. Anything else you want to bring up on the bills?
No, I think that's pretty much covers them.
All right. Let's head over to Minnesota state news. Republican Senator Einhorn apparently has resigned now.
Yeah, I heard that
before he
today.
got expulsed. And so he has been charged with trying to solicit sex from a minor. This is and I can't say that I'm deeply in the details of this guy, but I believe he's married and has kids. He's in his 40s. If he's not 40, he's in his 40s. And the girl was 16, I believe.
17.
So the one thing that bothers me, and I did see some representatives that I respect saying that he should be expelled. And I don't believe that's true until he's been officially charged, at least, or found guilty. I think you're innocent until proven guilty in this country, and I don't think it's right to knock somebody out just because they are in a situation that they may not be able to explain. And right. I don't know this guy. I don't know anything about it. I'm not trying to defend him, and I swear to God, if this is what he's been guilty of, lock him up. I'm cool with that. Kick him out. That's fine. But just because he's been accused of it doesn't necessarily mean he did it. So I'd like to see a little more due process before this. Now, he's resigned. Okay. So fair enough. You resigned and took that burden away. But I don't think you should force him to resign or expel him based on a charge. I think that's quite un-American to do that. What do you think, Dave?
No, I agree completely. It comes back to the Democrat lady who was caught in her relative's house trying to steal from her.
Right.
She got due process. She didn't have to resign. She got to hold on to her power. She got to vote herself innocent. So this really puts the Democrats in a horrible position because they're trying to defend someone that should have been, I'm not going to say it's on the same level, but still she had a felony arrest. Mm-hmm. She should have had the moral high ground and quit also. You'd
think. And I'll stick up for her the same way. But at the same time, there's manipulation going on. She had a judge tell her, no, we'll hold off on the trial until after the session. Now that I don't agree with. That's manipulation. She should be facing the trial right now. And if she's found guilty, she should be kicked out.
Right. And even Senator Einhorn, for what I understand, or what was reported on the news this evening, that there was no female actually ever involved.
It was all the cops doing it.
It was all the cops. The cops placed an ad like like Chris Hansen did for Catch a Predator. So he never talked to a woman. He also she said 17. He then reported back what the state law says about age of consent is 17 in Minnesota.
Okay.
So he, even though he has no morals, he still was able to justify it being legal.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that really isn't. So now it's just solicitation of prostitution, it sounds like, right?
correct. Yeah. So I don't know exactly what they're charging him with, or, he's going to have to spend a whole lot of time with his divorce. So,
Yeah, he's about to have a really hard time.
yeah. So he needs his,
And I'm not condoning a 40-year-old with a 17-year-old. I think that's creepy. But legally, and I think legally we should change it to 18, to be honest with you.
right.
But if it's in the legal purviews, this is one of those things where it's morally, I can't defend it, but legally, you can't charge him either. So was he saying he was going to pay her for sex, or was it? It must have been, because otherwise this would be this would just be a scandalous, affair kind of thing, as opposed to a legal issue, right?
Yeah, and he did, according to the news, he did say that he would pay her for a sexual act.
Oh well, and there you
So
go.
it was prostitution or soliciting prostitution.
Right. So that is illegal, and no matter what age they are, they're just adding on the minor part to make it sound even worse.
Correct. So but if you want to get into more of a moral issue or a legal issue, the dean of students up at Rockridge up in Hibbing was also arrested because they reported him on the news yesterday, I believe. And he was and they're going to send him down to Georgia to face charges on child pornography. But he used AI to generate child pornography. Mm-hmm. So no kids were actually harmed in the making of that.
I know.
It wasn't real.
I know. We talked about this. I remember talking about this in the 80s, to be honest with you. We talked about it in one of our classes, ethics classes in college, and it creeped me out then. It's getting so to the point where you can do stuff like that, not involve any kids, but still, good God.
Well, yeah,
even like thinking about it.
He's still creepy, and he still doesn't feel he should never be around kids. However, no one was basically the laws are set up to throw you in jail if you violate somebody else's rights.
Right.
Well, this person never violated anyone. He never violated any kids' rights or anybody's rights. So now we're getting into that murky moral issue.
Oh man,
but, you know what I'm saying? So
I know exactly what you're saying, and you're right. It is a huge gray area where you're not hurting anybody, but geez, man,
there's something wrong.
What is your life? Yeah, what is wrong with your brain? I mean, good Lord, just because you can do something, you shouldn't necessarily do that thing. And if that's how you get your jollies, I mean, that's an incubator for a crazy person.
Right.
But that's what the last 10 years have been. Just incubation of craziness. So, oh God, I need a shower after this conversation. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yes, really.
God. St. Paul is asking for $384 million from the state for Excel Energy Center renovations. So we got a private stadium. They make a lot of money off of it. The teams that are in there are multimillionaires.
Yep.
So why does the state need to pay one dime to these guys to help them out? Please explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
Well, the total bill is going to be, the renovations are going to total over $1 billion. It was like, 784 million is what I was told was going to be the final price tag. So, with cost overruns, just shy of $1 billion. So you could build a brand new stadium for that. You
Yeah.
should be. I mean, you're renovating, and the U.S. Bank Stadium where the Vikings play was only 1.2 billion, and you're going to renovate a smaller building for $1 billion, or say 900 million. The
Yeah.
numbers don't add up. Other than unless half of it goes to the mayor and the other half goes to half it goes to the part of the team.
Right. Good God.
Yeah.
Who's
So
so it's the Wild that plays there, right?
correct. That's the
Who else
main.
plays there?
Well, the right now, I mean, obviously the high school hockey tournaments there. Right now, the boys basketball, the big teams are there. The big schools are there. So it's used all the time. Plus, there's the Roy Wilkins Stadium or auditorium next to it, where they hold a lot of banquets and seminars and concerts. I went to a concert there once. So there's a lot of there's always something going on there.
Well,
But
my stake in the ground is this. This isn't in the best interest of the state of Minnesota. This
correct.
isn't the best interest of the state taxpayers. There are plenty of people who will never go to St. Paul. If you want to involve the government, involve the city of St. Paul. Stay away from Minnesota. It's not worth our time. It's not worth our money. You're not worth it. So that's my thoughts. What do you think? What do you think? We should do it?
Well, no, but their argument is, well, we built the U.S. Bank Stadium. The state funded that. The state funded the Target Center where the Timberwolves play. The state funded the billionaires Polad's Twins Stadium. That so why wouldn't you do the Wild in the state of hockey? I mean,
they're not wrong.
All these other billionaires got plenty of free money from the state. So why shouldn't the billionaires that own the Wild?
Right. Yeah, and I remember it was a law that they couldn't build a stadium. I believe it was the Twins Stadium.
Correct.
So they put it up for a vote, and we said no. So they put it up for a vote again, and we said no. And they put it up for a third time, and we said no. So they built it anyway. Screw you. If you're not going to vote the way we want, we'll just do it an underhanded way. They did the same thing for the Viking Stadium. They did the same thing when they pulled the Timberwolves back. I still remember the TV or looking at a newspaper and seeing Arnie Carlson toasting that they had pulled the Timberwolves back from them moving. And it's, you look at how much they're paying these guys. You look at how much we have to pay for the stadium. It doesn't make any sense. You should be able to go to a game for free. I mean, it's just like these colleges with these massive amounts of money. You're paying a quarterback, $40 million a year. You're not getting any revenue from the people going to the stadium. You're just, you're getting it all from advertising. But my God, I don't see why the people of Minnesota should have any of this stuff happening. These guys they're not from Minnesota. They don't represent Minnesota. They don't care about Minnesota. They may bring in some stuff to Minneapolis, St. Paul, but you know what? I don't really care about Minneapolis, St. Paul that much right now. We're hurting right now in Duluth and all over the state, and they're not the epicenter of the world. And maybe, just maybe, if they didn't have all that money, they would have to choose between their social programs and actually getting things done. And maybe some of these social programs that they're hitting us will throw away, which would be nice.
Well, right. I mean, every nightly you hear on the news about another school district that's short, $500,000, $700,000 because of some reason or some other reason.
Right.
To not pay, $500 million for another stadium would go a long way.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Guess what's up?
All right.
It's Tim Walz time. I've been watching this guy for years before he became a national item. I was incredibly shocked when he got reelected. I can't believe the people that actually support him. And now that he's on the public stage, he is really, really embarrassing Minnesota quite a bit every day. So let's just talk about some of these. And we're going to put up this this image when I get it ready here. And one of his big things is he was calling Elon Musk a Nazi, right? He said he
Yeah.
did the Nazi symbol. Yeah, which I think is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But, you know, what's that? That looks like a Nazi sign, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
and I've seen him many times do the double pump and then the arm raised like that from
yeah.
Walz.
I mean, it looks like he's thrusting out his hips too, which is kind of that's an alternative Nazi sign. But yeah, what's this, Timmy? I mean, if you're going to complain about Elon doing it, maybe you should take a look at this.
I've seen him do it many, many times too. So for him to talk about it is hypocritical beyond hypocritical.
Right. So the other thing was his little speech where he talked about how, you know what I do when I want to have some fun? I get out my iPhone because I'm cool. I own an iPhone. And I look at the Tesla stock and, oh, boy, they're losing money. And boy, does that make me feel good. No, we're not just only saying this, but people in the audience are cheering for it. So if I can frame this way, the Minnesota governor is cheering that an American business is losing its stock price. That's just good for everybody. And then you pointed out something. Go ahead and tell everybody what you found out.
Well, I found out that the Minnesota State Employees Union owns 1.6 million shares of Tesla stock. So Fat Boy is trying to join the fact that the Minnesota employees, the Minnesota unions, are losing money in their retirement accounts.
Yeah, right.
That is so idiotic and disrespectful, and just a poor example of what a true leader should be.
Well, this is not really surprising, is it? I mean, he has absolutely no business experience whatsoever. He's only worked in the public, on the public dole his entire life.
Right.
As a teacher, and then as a rep, and then as doing whatever the hell you call what he does here as governor, because I don't even know what he does around here besides flipping around and making a lot of noise lately. One would think that he may be thinking about a presidential run, which, as amusing as that is to think about, it's scary as all get out to think if he wins, if he would be to win, what this country would be like.
Right.
My God. But it could just be his masculinity is threatening to me. Because what he said to Gavin Newsom, he said, well, let me just bring this up before I flounder too much with it. Bring this up. Sorry about this. I'll try to edit this out, but I don't really care. He said to Gavin Newsom, I think I scare them a little bit, which is why they spend so much time on me, Mr. Walz, so Gavin Newsom. When Mr. Newsom burst into laughter, the Minnesota governor said, no, I'm serious, because, I could fix a truck. They know I'm not BSing on this. I'm going to play this. Hang on one second. I got the clip. I just think it's hilarious. This guy thinks that he really does think he's a masculine man.
Right.
So let me know if you can't hear this.
But I think this notion of toxicity and masculinity needs to be separated. And I think it's been conflated. And I think we're going to have to work on that a little bit. And I think there is a crisis.
I think some of us scare them. I think I scare them a little bit why they spend so much time on it. No, I'm serious, because I can fix a truck. They know I'm not bullshitting on this. Yeah. I'm not putting this in people's grill. I don't know if my identity is not hunting. My identity is not football coaching. My identity is not, a beard and a truck.
his identity is communist China. So
Right.
I want to replay this a little bit, and then we'll talk.
But I think this notion of
so watch Gavin here.
This notion of toxicity in masculinity needs to be separated, and I think it's been conflated. And I think we're going to have to work on that.
We're going to have to work on this masculinity. I'm sorry, Gavin.
He's doing the milk and cow dance.
I don't think you really understand what masculinity is if you're doing those kind of moves. It really doesn't. It doesn't think so. So the best part is Walz is 3 years older than us. Jesus, man. I don't know what you do in your life to make you look like that, but my God, I thought, honest to God, hand to God, I thought he was in his 70s. I really did.
Yeah.
The man is 60 years
old. At least
old.
upper 60s, yeah.
Oh. But yeah, so Walz think he's badass. And he also said that he could kick most of our asses. Or most of their ass, which I didn't even understand what that meant. But yeah, he thinks he could take us all on, which, you're a tough guy. But you found somebody that was willing to take him on, right?
Yeah, there's a host of he's kind of a sub-host of the Gutfeld show, and he's on Fox News all the time. His name is Tyrus, and he even promised to do it one-handed.
Really?
Yeah. And he call, I can't remember, said something about Huckleberry. Said, I'll take your plan. I'll meet you up with your plan. Calling me a Huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry. It's from
I'm your Huckleberry, yeah. So that would be one of the shortest fights ever.
This dude is huge. I'll just tell you that right now. And he carries around this wrestling belt with him all the time. But this picture doesn't do him justice. His arms are like the size of my legs.
He's 6'7", 325. And he was he won the World Wrestling Championship. So
I didn't know he was 6'7". Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, he's a big boy. So for Walz to say anything that he would fight, he's stronger than he's more of a man than most Republicans. Then I think he would lose awfully quickly on this one.
What do you think? That guy's a beast.
Oh yeah, he's gigantic.
Oh. But I was thinking, I don't even think this is a fair fight. I think Laura Ingraham should go after him.
Yeah, that's a little more. That's a little closer related.
No, not really. I think that's. I think she would whoop him pretty easily. Toxic masculinity. Tim Walz, you are the man.
And we're back to, the Democrats have a problem with intolerance and violence.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They're going after Elon, and
yeah. But this is like Joe Biden was doing the same thing. He was going to take Trump out the back and beat him up.
Right.
It's just sad. I mean, you're talking like you're a 17-year-old, and this is how you're going to fight people. Just because people are making fun of you that you look and act gay, I mean, why are you taking that as an insult anyway?
Right.
But yeah, he lashes out not like a governor would. He lashes out like a petulant child would.
Correct. He is not the Democrat you want to look up to, and he's no longer representing the Democrat Party. I'm not exactly sure who he's trying to placate to.
I don't know. So let's move off of Big Tim, and we'll go to national news. Let's talk a little about this domestic terrorism that's going on. So the environment-loving peaceniks, the ones that are tolerant of everybody's opinion and everybody should have their say, are burning Teslas in the street to damage the stock and to make people afraid. And there's actually a late-night talk show host kind of semi-encouraging it, which could put him into a lot of trouble, actually. But What's going on? Why do people defend this? Why are people saying that this is an okay thing to do?
Yeah, I don't really understand that either. I mean, like we talked earlier in the shows, he used to be the poster child for the liberals.
Mhm.
You know, he made electric cars. He was saving the planet. And just now, because he's trying to find the waste and fraud in the American government, like all the other presidents have said and haven't done, now all of a sudden he's the hitman. He's the
Right.
boogeyman. You know, even Walz was basically enjoying his Tesla stock drop, which is basically, in your gray area of domestic terrorism, when he's telling a group of people that he liked, Tesla stock was losing money.
Right.
So he's trying to help America by quit wasting money. So I don't understand how he became the bad man on this whole situation.
He did have the audacity of saving 2 astronauts just yesterday. So,
oh yeah,
any other president that happened to, there'd be ticker tape parades for what they did, but this is getting shuffled off the news faster than you can believe it, faster than assassination attempts on a president, which you don't hear about anymore. I was going to start a list. I did this a couple episodes ago, and I think I want to do this again, is get a list of stuff that we no longer talk about that were major news items that just get shuffled off to nowhere. And this is one of them. I think it's pretty bad when you say you're for the environment and then you burn up Teslas, releasing all that toxicity into the air with batteries in them. Those are the worst things in the world. They get destroyed. And I don't understand it. When we don't like something as a group of conservatives in general, we stop buying that product. That's the retaliation. This is just ridiculousness, and people need to stop doing it.
They said, according to the Nationals, they did arrest 3 people for burning Tesla dealerships.
Charge them.
Yes.
So
and that's, as long as Pam Bondi goes after them for national terrorism, then we're getting somewhere. That, hopefully that'll put an end to it.
Yeah, it gets a couple guys in behind bars, facing serious charges and serious consequences. Correct. And then maybe this will stop. And not let them get bailed out by what was that group that Kamala Harris funded or helped fund?
Oh, Minnesota Freedom Fund.
Yeah. The next thing we want to talk about is the polls. You pointed this out, and it was, I think, the approval rating for Democrats, and it is at 21% overall. Not surprisingly, this is 8% Republicans. That's not really a surprise, right? We'd expect that.
Yeah.
But it's got just 40% of the Democrats are supporting their party, 19% of the independents, and only 26% of the women. I don't know how I don't understand this, but 40% of the Democrats support them. If you go to the Republican one, 79% of the Republicans are approving of the Republicans. Not surprisingly, 4% of the Democrats, and I would expect that, they're not going to approve of it. But man, it's 49% are disapproving of the Democrats of the Democrats.
Right.
So that's, they're coming out and supporting all the things that people don't want. I heard a fairly liberal woman today talking about it and saying, hey, you know what? I'm a Democrat. I'm a liberal MAGA supporter because he took all the good things about the Democrat Party and made them about himself, made that his party platform, and took the good things about the Republican Party and made that his party platform. And people can't stand voting and supporting these the Democrats the way they are right now, what they stand for.
Right. So it's a believable poll.
Right.
And that was Quinnipiac So that was a national poll. And so it's not as if it was some fly-by-night organization. That's so.
Right. I'm going to go into something. I don't even know if you saw this yet when I was going to do it, but Ukraine. Corporates call for 8 million migrants to replace dead Ukrainians. I've been saying this since the beginning. I didn't do it on the show, but I've been talking to you about it. This seems like a mass replacement theory, what's going on with this war. They will kill off all the people that are in that country and then just replace them with immigrants from other places. I don't know from where, but I have a theory, but I won't talk about it on this show. But it seems like that's coming to fruition now with these corporations calling for 8 million migrants. We'll need 8.2 million workers. So it's just, to me, frightening and sad what they've done, how they're abusing this country, Ukraine. It feels like it's just a mass puppet, and the people that live there are just pawns, getting slaughtered for no reason other than somebody has a plan for this country, and the people that live there are not part of that plan.
Where do they get this 8.2 million? Because I don't think that's how many been killed in the war. So how do they come up with a number that, I didn't even think the whole country had 8.2 million people in it.
Yeah, I don't know what their population is. It says here they either encourage our women to have more children, which would take 18 to 20 years to reflect in the labor market, or we must realistically seek labor migrations from other countries. They want migrants from non-Western states such as Bangladesh, Nepal, India, North Africa, and Central Asia. I don't
Okay.
I don't get it.
I don't know. Yeah.
And just so they have a labor force. Well, maybe you don't need it if you don't have as many people, right?
And Russia blew up all their buildings, so they don't have any place to house them anyways.
Right. And honestly, I'm glad they're not talking about the U.S. coming in and helping rebuild, because I'm tired of rebuilding other countries so they can just thumb their nose at us.
Right.
And in a related story, just to keep on theme here, U.S. and Israel ask East African countries to resettle Palestinians. Now they're trying to clear out this country so they can rebuild it, theoretically. But I don't know about you, but I have a feeling once they're gone, they're not going to be welcome back anytime soon.
No.
I think this is just a plan to 86 them so they can finally take over that area. Now, what they've done to it, as you can see these pictures, my God, that's desolation.
Right.
This is just an incredibly costly and human life conflict that's happening. And the sad thing about it is it's the Palestinian government versus the Israeli government. And these people that are getting bombed to death, many of them have nothing to do with this. They're just trying to live their lives. And they're the ones paying for it, just like always.
Well, they need those people to stick around to help rebuild. To become construction workers.
Maybe they should move them to Ukraine while they're rebuilding Palestine, and then they move back, right?
That works.
I'm going to show you this video, or talk about something else here. People talk about blackface, and blackface was something that happened in the minstrel days when people would, like Al Jolson, put on makeup to make himself on stage to be representing a black person. They did a very stupid show with it. So blackface was probably intentionally insulting, but it was insulting, and I can understand where people would look at it and go, "Hey, that doesn't look like us. That's not trying to represent us." But people have morphed this into something that if you ever put any kind of shading on your face whatsoever, they call it blackface and then they're offended by it. They don't actually know why or are actually intellectually offended by it, except for the fact that they're supposed to be, right? It's a
Right.
Pavlovian response to it. So this one kid goes to this football game and they accuse him of putting on blackface. And this is what the kid looks like. Now, I don't know if you remember, the Vikings, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he was famous for this. This is what he put on his face. So it started out with those two little lines under your eyes to stop reflection. But then he started making a thing about it where he was making it like, this is a black guy that was doing it, by the way. It was like his signature. He was putting on face paint. He was making it different. And they finally actually banned it. They forced him to stop doing it, and then they started allowing it a few years later. So he kind of got screwed by that because that was his trademark. But clearly, this kid isn't trying to act like he's a black guy or make fun of black people. He's doing a football thing. He's at a football game. He's doing this thing to just try to look like one of the players or something, or look like a player. And I say this not in the fact that it's so sad that they're doing this, but on Netflix right now, the movie White Chicks is still on, where there's two black guys that dress up like white women, and it's perfectly fine. So why is this so insulting that this kid would wear this face paint and get, basically just ramrodded around? But yet there's no outrage by White Chicks, the movie on Netflix. I don't understand how it's okay for one race to do one thing and not okay for another race to do anything where it's basically the same thing. Now, I don't think White Chicks is offensive other than the fact that it's just not funny. In a movie sense, it offends me that it exists. But at the same time, they want to spend the money and they want to do this and look like fools, they can do it. But then to turn around and say this kid, this isn't the only case. This has been happening quite a bit.
Right.
If you dressed up and you wanted to look like a black person, you should be able to do that without being, especially like on Halloween or something, where the whole point is to look like somebody you're not, or if you want to. It baffles my mind.
And if you look at him, he's wearing a Nike T-shirt, which is clearly an athlete T-shirt, not a, some, like, he's not wearing. It doesn't say NAACP or a BMFPM or something. He's not trying to mock anybody. He's trying to be an athlete at an athletic game.
He was banned for 2 days had a 2-day suspension, as well as being banned from attending district sporting events. Unbelievable. Why do I have the feeling too? I'm going on a limb here, and I don't know if this is true or not. I'll bet you no black person was involved with this at all. Like no black person's looking at this as getting upset. It's got to be the white guys that are the offended ones, because they almost always are.
And it's from a blue state. It's from a area of the country that is more concerned about image than anything.
California.
Yeah. So it's a blue state thing. Is we're better than everybody, and we're more woke than the next person.
It's just crazy.
So they found someone they could pick on, and that's what they did.
Right. Exactly. Oh boy.
That's getting in hand. So we're at this level of stupidity, and now we're going to go off the chart. Now we're getting with the next story.
You see, you looked ahead. Oh, you looked ahead. I think this is one of my favorite stupid things to share. In a world of stupidity, this is great. This is actual questionnaire being sent out or being put out to new parents. And let's make that bigger. Patient name, newborn date of birth. What sex was your baby assigned at birth? Female, male, or prefer not to answer? Do you identify your baby as female, male, transgender female, trans woman, male to female, transgender male, trans man, female to male, gender queer, neither exclusively male or female, additional gender category, self-described, please specify. And the third question is, which of the following best describes your baby? Lesbian or gay, straight or heterosexual, or bisexual? Self-describes, please specify. What in God's name has happened?
I want to make sure I know the name of that hospital, so I never go there. Because obviously they don't know what to think anymore.
Oh, that's just too much. I just can't stand it. I gotta.
Our mission is to provide safe and compassionate experience that improves your health. You ask me something that stupid of a question. That's not going to improve my health. It's going to make my mental health a lot worse. And whoever asks me that question ruin her day or that person's day too. So
it's certainly not making me feel safer.
No, definitely not.
Before we did this operation on your appendix, does your appendix identify as male, female, transgender, queer? I don't know. Is it a hate crime to remove it if I say it's a trans appendix? Yeah. God.
Jeez.
Let's just end on a fun note before we go talk about health and fitness. I want to talk about Alec Baldwin. And do you remember that submarine that went way down and imploded just last year?
Yeah, yep.
You're going to be able to watch a marriage going down to that depth and imploding right in front of your eyes. So let me just share this. And the cringiest moment I've seen in a marriage in a long time. Here we go.
You got to turn the volume up on that one. Nothing over on my side.
You can't hear it?
No, sir.
Hang on. Let me see if I can do it on this window here. I'm sorry. This will be something I'll have to try to edit out or leave in just for the six people that watch us. Okay. Here we go. What's that?
We're almost to 100 on that one video.
Yeah, right. Well, the last two haven't been doing too well, but let's see. Is this the one? I think this is the one. Okay, I'm going to try to play it again and let me know if you can hear it or not. I don't know why that's not sharing.
Yeah, I don't know. Technology today.
Well, it was working before. I don't know why it wouldn't work now. Let's see if I'm doing the right. You know what? I'm probably doing this instead. Let's do this one instead. I have to actually do it through the same browser I'm signed in.
No, I think we're gonna see. You know, we're gonna see how it feels to have it be out there. This
You're a winner.
Oh my God! When I'm talking, you're not talking. No, when I'm talking, you're not talking. This is why. Yes, we'll have to just cut him out of the show. No, I mean, I think this is a really raw show, and it's very real, and we took a lot of chances.
You want more of this?
So I'm going to pause it here in a second, but you're going to see the look on his face.
No, I think we're going to see. You know, we're going to see how it feels to have it be out there.
You're a winner.
Oh my God! When I'm talking, you're not talking. No, when I'm talking, you're not talking.
Look at that face. That's a lot of rage being held back right now.
Yeah, right. It doesn't have a gun.
Holy cow. Oh my goodness, Alec. Might be time for the new wife.
Yeah, he's had like 14 kids with this one, so
When she publicly humiliates you, maybe it's time to move on. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. All right. Last section, health and fitness. I've been on a crazy drive and I have not worked out now in 2 days and it's driving me crazy. I was running almost every day when I was out in Maui, and for good reason. It was really beautiful out there. But now I'm back here and it's cold. I'll tell you. So maybe hit the gym Saturday, I guess. Yeah, I didn't do anything today. Didn't do anything yesterday. Was all flying, so that's understandable.
Yeah, completely.
How about you?
My shoulders were killing me, so I took Friday off and hit it super hard on Monday, and then and I felt horrible Tuesday, Wednesday, so I did just a light cardio on Wednesday, and kind of get back into the feeling proper the way I should feel,
Yeah.
And then probably take a couple more days off, and then hit her hard next week again. Get back into the routine.
I'll be back so we can go together. And yeah, I have not been lifting that much, so when I do, it's an episode of fits and spurts, and it's not looking good, man.
No, but you know, the main thing is to move and to keep busy, and I have been doing that. I've been doing some other things that aren't legitimately what you would consider exercise, but I'm always trying to keep moving, and that's the main thing. Just stay moving. Watch
In
your
health
diet.
news, in kind of health news related, RFK has taken over as Health and Human Services Director, and one of the first things he's doing is looking at heavy metals inside of baby food. And I would never have thought that was going to be a problem. And I'm glad that's the first thing he's looking at, because babies need good nutrition right from the get-go for them to be healthy and hardy. So I hope that never changes. I hope he does a lot of good stuff with that department. And at some point, we'll have to talk about vaccinations and people being absolutely super crazy about this stuff and not understanding the difference between a vaccination and the latest injection that was done. But we're not going to go into it today because we're at 1:12, and I think this is a nice sweet spot to end.
Yeah, and then vaccinations is a long story that we're finding out more about on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
So it's not good.
Yep. All right. So we'll do that, and we'll say thank you for coming. Thank you for listening if you're doing it. If you stuck this long, please like and subscribe. If you like what you heard, leave a comment. And until next week, I will sign off now. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dave.
And we will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.